Hey guys, welcome back to Brian's Mysteries and Adventures on Trail. And today's case, there isn't a whole lot of information out there, so this video isn't going to be that long, but like I've always said, everyone deserves the same amount of coverage. Today's case is about Adrian Alonzo Smith. He is 49 years old and was last seen after a friend dropped him off at a trailhead in Coast Range Forest east of Lincoln City on January 19th, 2021. Now this is in the very western part of Oregon near the Drift Creek Falls trailhead. And I'm going to put up some maps here so you guys can see where it is. And Mr. Smith was considered an experienced hiker. He was a camping enthusiast. He loved the outdoors and nature. He loved animals. He loved cheetahs, from what I understand. Yeah, it just seemed like an all-around great guy. He loved art, could build things, very good with his hands, and very, very familiar with the outdoors. Smith apparently planned to hike 2 other locations besides the 3-mile Drift Creek Trail, had supplies to spend the night, but did not arrive for a scheduled pickup the following day. And this is when, obviously, people were alerted, search teams were sent out, which lasted for about 2 weeks. And then after coming up nothing in that search, more foul weather moved in, so they had to call off the search, and then they went back out and started again. Despite the use of drones, dogs, and forensic cell phone analysis, officials have still been unable to locate Smith or his body. One thing that the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office said in this particular case was the overwhelming support and tips that they got from other hikers. The trail apparently had been very popular within those weeks, and it's a very beautiful trail. There's all these suspension bridges and waterfalls, and so it was drawing a lot of people. And the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office said that in this case they got a lot of tips and all these eager hikers to help. And I just thought that was wonderful, because that's ultimately one of the goals of this channel, is to make people aware of these cases and get the word out, and so that hikers and campers and hunters and everybody that's going out can possibly help with these cases. So in one of the tips that the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office received, it gave them the last sort of point of where he was seen, which was several miles from the Drift Creek trailhead. And according to the officials, between that area is very rough terrain, and apparently he was spotted without his shirt on, and he was just wearing jeans, which is not good considering the weather at the time was very cold. Based on another tip that they received on January 30th of 2021 this year, searchers found Smith's encampment near the spot where he had last been seen. Food, water, and other supplies appeared to have been untouched, which again is not a good sign. Nothing since before the recent snowfall began in the area on January 26. The evidence, weather, and condition of Smith's camp led investigators to believe the probability of survival would be very low, which of course is sad, but there's always a chance he maybe wandered off or got injured maybe. But investigators they waited for weather conditions to improve and set out more search recovery efforts, but unfortunately those all ended with no leads as well. Between the searchers and all of the volunteers, they were able to cover more than 483 miles just within the primary search, which really is pretty incredible. And according to the sheriff's office, they estimated that there was, a dozen per day of hikers offering to help and look for this man. And, once again, I think that's just a great thing. Smith is 49 years old. He's about 6 feet tall, 170 pounds. He's got shoulder-length brown hair, hazel eyes. He was thought to be wearing jeans and a black jumpsuit, and he has some tattoos on his back, one of wings, some arm tattoos as well. So those are really the identifying descriptive marks that are available to us at this time. And he was out there doing a solo hike, so there was no one really with him at the time. And after that one sighting, there's been nothing since. And it's kind of odd, because this is apparently, now I've never been there, but this apparently is a very popular area for hiking, even during winter time. And now we're getting into spring, and I'm guessing more and more people are going out to that park, that trailhead, which is in Siuslaw National Forest. I'm not sure if I said that right, so sorry, forgive me if I didn't, but And again, this is in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. And of course, you know, his family is hoping for the best, but at this point, it's not looking good. Based on the evidence that the investigators did find, though, it is kind of curious because he was well prepared. He had overnight gear, he had food, he had rations, and I don't know whether he was maybe not prepared for the impending snowstorm, but usually in cases where hikers have extended supplies, especially overnight gear, the chances of survival are, you know, greatly improved, because what happens with day hikers is when they don't have, you know, a puffy jacket or a tent or any type of shelter, food, extra rations, things like that, it just, you know, there's no chance. But in this case, when they found his encampment, it looked, you know, abandoned, and all his food and everything hadn't been touched. So it's possible that, you know, he maybe went off and tried to use the bathroom, maybe fell down a rock cliff. There are a lot of cliffs and waterfalls in this area. But again, this is just speculation, and it's hard to say, especially after the amazing efforts by not only search and rescue, but the volunteers. And despite this area being very beautiful, as you can see in the pictures, it's also very rugged. And some of these areas to try and traverse are not easy. I mean, you can see these search and rescue guys are basically climbing up this cliff that is just broken trees and roots, and you know, these searches are not easy. And in this particular case, it's very plausible that he just went out to maybe gather some water and slipped or something and got separated from his pack. And this is one thing that I've mentioned in other videos, but I think it's a great thing for hikers to wear a fanny pack. You can get them in all different sizes, and it's just a great thing to keep like your Garmin device in, an emergency blanket, some snacks, so that if you do get separated from your pack, you have something. In this case, you know, they really did exhaust search efforts. They had drones, helicopters, special dog teams that they brought in. And the one thing that, at least for the cases that I've covered so far, that was overwhelming was the mass amount of volunteers. And that really makes me happy, because that's something that I want to get involved in. And obviously this case hasn't had a good outcome yet, but I think we're moving in the right direction as far as getting more people involved. And I think ultimately that will be the way that some of these cases end up being solved, one way or another. I think it's also an important reminder that, you know, even if you're just going out for a couple of miles, I mean, Adrian Smith was only planning on doing a 3-mile hike and then a few other shorter trails that weren't, you know, that were very well hiked at the time. And obviously, like, it sounds like he was prepared, but, you know, who knows? The weather could have moved in, and maybe he just got trapped somewhere. I mean, we just unfortunately don't know in this case. But it's just a reminder to always be, you know, plan for things you might not be expecting. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. This case was headed up by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department, and I think they did a great job. One thing that they did differently was put out a press statement asking for the public's help, and I think this was a great thing, because there's actually been cases I've covered where, and I understand why they did this in other cases, where they told the public not to help and stay off the trail for their own safety, but you know, in this particular case, they asked for the public's help, and they were able to cover a huge amount of ground. And it was the public's help that got them both of the tips, both the tip of him being seen last time without a shirt on, and also the tip that led them to finding his campsite. And despite this case not having, you know, a positive outcome, and we still don't know where he is, I think it's just, you know, moving in the right direction, getting more people involved and more people aware of these cases and willing to help. And this case has shown that it can help by getting tips like that. So just a quick recap, Adrian Alonzo Smith went out on a hike on January 19th of 2021. He was supposed to be picked up the next day, and when he didn't, he was reported missing, and the search efforts started immediately. Adrian is 49 years old. He has shoulder-length brown hair, hazel eyes, some facial hair at times, a tattoo of wings on his back, arm tattoo, about 6 foot and 170 pounds. If you have any information regarding this case, please contact Senior Deputy Bruce McGuire at 541-270-3400, and they'll be happy to take any information you have. And as always, guys, please be respectful in the comments. I want to really emphasize this, because if you have want to tell me that you hate my videos, that's fine, but for God's sake, don't like insult the missing people. I've actually read comments where people are making fun of these people for going missing and blaming them. I mean, and that's just not right. The families are looking for closure and needing our support and help and love during this, so just please be respectful. My thoughts and prayers go out to Adrian and of course his family and friends, and hoping he can find his way home soon in one way or another. I want to say thank you for everybody for watching, as always, and thank you to the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and everybody that volunteered for the search. That's just wonderful. I'll have more information in the description if you'd like to do further reading, and a special thank you to Coag.ag for providing the music.